Hi class. Last time I presented a video, it was on the topic of culture. And if you remember, three main components of culture are values, norms, and language. Today's topic is socialization. And socialization is the process of learning those values, norms, and language of your culture. So let me say that again. Socialization is the process of learning the appropriate values, norms, and language of your culture. This is a process that occurs throughout your entire life. It starts when you're born and we choose to wrap you in either a pink blanket or a blue blanket, and it continues throughout your life until death. Socialization is also something that occurs just through our daily interactions with family, friends, media. So I want to give you an example to demonstrate that. I want you to think about a family, a Japanese family in Japan. They're at the dinner table. Everyone's finished with dinner except the young boy. And all that's left on his plate are cooked carrots. And he lets his parents know he is not interested in eating the cooked carrots. Japanese parents are going to ask the child to consider how his actions make other people feel. They might say something like, "Oh, how can you not eat your cooked carrots? How do you think it makes the farmer feel who took the time to grow those carrots for you? How do you think it makes the grocer feel who took the time to purchase the carrots from the farmer, clean them, prepare them for sale? How do you think it makes him feel? How do you think it makes me feel? I went and purchased those carrots for you and prepared them." By the parents asking the child to consider how his actions affect other people, they are instilling a common Japanese value of group loyalty and social responsibility. Those are common values in the Japanese culture. Now, let's consider the same scenario, but now it's in the United States, an American family. Would American parents ask their kid, "How do you think it makes other people feel that you're not eating your carrots?" No, they would not ask their child that. They would tell their child, "You need to eat your carrots. They will make you grow big and strong. You know why you need to eat your carrots? Because it's good for your eyesight. They're good for you. Do you want to grow up and be a big, strong man? Of course you do. Eat your carrots. They're good for you." By parents saying that to the child, they are instilling the common American value of self-interest. And yes, that is a common American value. So that example is to demonstrate that we learn the appropriate values and norms just through our daily casual interactions, and it happens on a daily basis throughout our lives. Socialization is an extremely important part of who we are and our behavior. I want to talk about the purpose of socialization. There are several things that make this an important concept to study. The first purpose I want to talk about is that socialization helps create our personality. This is the underlying argument behind the debate called the nature versus nurture debate. The nature side of this debate is that we have a predisposition toward a certain personality, that it is genetically ingrained in us at birth. The nurture side of the argument is that our personality is developed through our social interactions, through our social environment. The nature side of the argument tends to be supported by psychologists, and the nurture side is supported by sociologists. Now, this debate used to be an either-or argument. You were either on the nature side or you were on the nurture side. Thankfully, this debate has matured to where now scientists agree, we can concede that both have an effect, that heredity has an effect on your personality, and so does the social environment. But sociologists fall firmly on the nurture side, and we argue that your social environment has a much stronger effect than your heredity on your personality. You can read more about that in your textbook. It talks about cases of isolated children to support the nurture side, that you need that social interaction to actually become human. And then you can read about twins separated at birth to support the nature side, and you can come to your own conclusion on that. Another main purpose of socialization, besides personality, besides that it creates personality, the second one is that it helps us develop our sense of ourself, our self-image, or our self-concept. And there's a couple different theorists mentioned in your textbook that have theories on how socialization affects your self-concept. I'm going to focus on Charles Cooley. He's one of my favorites, Charles Cooley. And his theory is called the looking glass self. Now, his argument is that we see ourselves as we think other people see us. We see ourselves as we think other people see us. And his theory is called looking glass self, and that's an old-fashioned term for a mirror. So his theory is suggesting that each of us is holding up social mirrors during our interaction. For example, let's say that I'm instructing in a seated classroom. I'm the instructor. You all are sitting out in a classroom. As I'm presenting the material, each one of you is holding up a social mirror, and I'm seeing my reflection in your mirror. Okay, I'm not holding up a mirror for myself. I am looking out and seeing my reflection in each mirror of the students. So if I'm giving a presentation and I look out and I see people nodding off, they're going to sleep, they've got their cell phone out and they're doing something on their cell phone, they're gazing out the window, they're not paying attention, they're not taking notes, they look bored, they're yawning. I am seeing those behaviors as reflections of myself. And I'm going to have a negative self-image of that interaction at the least, of that particular experience, that social experience. Now, whether or not that continues to affect me in the future will depend on how tomorrow is. Are you going to give me the same negative social interactions in your social mirrors, or is it going to be different? Those social interactions can affect how you see yourself. Now, let's switch it and have a more positive example where same scenario, but I look out and I see people nodding their head in agreement as I'm talking. I see people taking notes. There's a lot of good interaction during our discussion time. And those are going to be positive reflections that I see from your social mirrors. Now, I think that we can all agree that children are more susceptible to being negatively or positively affected by how people interact with them. But I want you to think about the fact this occurs throughout your lifetime. So even as adults, we can fall under that pressure of trying to judge ourselves based on how people interact with us. So think about that in your daily interactions and think about maybe with your coworkers or a boss, that are they giving you positive encouragement, positive body language, positive comments? That definitely helps you have a more positive self-concept. And the other side is, are they doing it negatively? It can affect you and maybe cause you to have a negative self-concept. It is something that occurs throughout life, sociologists argue. Okay, our first purpose was that socialization helps create personality. The second purpose I just mentioned was that it helps develop our self-image. The third purpose of socialization is that it teaches us appropriate adult roles. Have you ever thought about the fact that there is a lot of social pressure to have certain roles once you reach adulthood? Most of us can agree that we're expected to get a job and contribute to the economy, contribute positively to society. Have you ever thought about how society also teaches you about family roles? That you are taught as you're growing up that it is the appropriate adult role to get married. If you're 30 and never been married, more than likely you're feeling social pressure to do so. You're feeling it from your family, your friends, you're seeing it in the media that people who are 30 or older are typically married. And then it even goes into children, that there is an expectation in our culture that you will have children. Have you ever met a couple that has been married 20 years and has no children? Our first thought tends to go to the fact that maybe we actually tend to think they can't have children. It's usually a much secondary thought to think they chose not to have children. So that's just an example of how there is cultural pressure to perform and fill appropriate adult roles. And working and contributing to the economy is one of those. Having a family is another one. All right, so that's some of the key reasons why we study socialization and why we think it's important in sociology. I just want to end mentioning agents of socialization. Sometimes it's flipped around and called socializing agents. Agents of socialization or socializing agents. These are the people or social entities that do the teaching. Remember, the term socialization refers to the process of learning values, norms, language. Agents of socialization are those people that do the teaching. Your textbook does a great job of listing those and explaining those for you. But just just to briefly mention here at the end, your primary agent of socialization is your family. Then you have peers throughout your life, coworkers, religion, etc., etc., and the media is a huge one. So I hope this video was helpful. Feel free to email me with any questions. Have a great day.